So there's been a little bit of confusion about the functions and how they work. And so if you take a look at these, this little example program, we can run through it. And so we hit the run button, and the compiler takes a look at this section here, and it ignores it, right? Why? Because this is a function definition, right, by the keyword def. So the compiler ignores all of this, does not do it, and then it comes down here to this line and is trying to put a value in the variable result, right? And it says equal this here, and this is a function call, right? So this function definition up here that was ignored earlier is now going to run, right? And it only runs when it's called, right? So when it calls, it's going to jump over to here and run this code. Notice here that we have a argument, a parameter defined. This is what we call a parameter, and so it's a temporary variable that's going to work for the function square. So it only exists here for the function square, right? And what is it going to be equal to? Well, it's going to be equal to the value that we give the square function. So when it gets down here to this line, it's going to run square, and x is going to be equal to 5. Okay. You could define any number of arguments here, right? You could put a list of like 7 parameters, but if you do that, when you call square, you also need to list 7 parameters, 7 arguments, right? So arguments and parameters are like receive and give, right? So when you're giving, they're called arguments, and when you're receiving, they're called parameters. So it's the same thing. Okay, so then we run this line here. It runs square, giving the argument 5. So it's going to jump up here to the definition square. X is equal to 5. It's going to come here, do the math, which is 5 times 5. Y is now equal to 25, and it's going to return 25. Return Y, right? So what does return do? It goes back to where the function was originally called, right? And it replaces this function call with the return value, this Y. Not the Y, but the value that's inside of Y, the 25, right? So this square, parentheses 5, parentheses 5, gets replaced with the value 25, and now result is equal to 25, and we print result, which prints out 25, and we get our answer, right? Yeah, and so we are now starting to define our own functions. But this concept is something that you should understand, because we've already played around with this, right? And so when did we play around with it? We did it when we did something like this. We said power is equal to math.pow, and we give it like a 5 and a 2, right? What is this doing? Well, this is a math function that is calculating power for us, right? And what is power? Well, if we the first argument is the base, and the second argument is the exponent, so it's 5 to the 2, right? And that's equal to 5 times 5, and that's equal to 25, right? So what's happening in our program when we do this? Well, we imported math, which is a file that we're not able to see, right? That has a list of all these different definitions, all these different function definitions, right? One of those function definitions is power, right? Pow. And pow takes in 2 arguments, so there would be 2. So if we looked at it, it'd be def pow, right? This is inside of the math class. Def pow, and we would have like x comma y, and then it would do all of the code that produces the correct answer, right? And then we return the answer, right? So when our code is running, okay, cool, we import math. Now we have all these functions that we're able to use, and then we say variable power is equal to math.pow. And what is this going to do? This here is a function call, so it's going to jump down to here, run the definition power with x being 5 and y being equal to 2. It's going to do the math, and then it's going to return the answer, which is 25, right? So here we're going to come on back to where the function was called. The function call is going to be replaced with the contents of the variable answer. So power is going to equal 25, because this whole expression is now replaced with the number 25, right? Which is the answer of 5 to the power of 2. And power is equal to 25, and we could print power. Right? So what we were doing in the past was invoking methods from the math class to do specific jobs for us, right? And now what we're doing is we're creating our own function definitions, right? And calling them. So so just like when we ran our program here and when we imported math, did it run these function definitions? No, it didn't, right? It ignored them, but it included it in our file here. And then it wasn't until we called math.pow that it went and found the function definition called pow, and it ran it. So function definitions over here are going to be ignored until they are called, right? Just like they are ignored here, right? Until they are called. So hopefully that clears up how functions work with return values. This is like the first rung in a very long ladder, so you got to be sure that you understand this so that everything else makes sense.